Welcome, curious minds, to another mind-bending episode of Mind Flip. Today we're taking off on a wild ride through a world where cars don't just cruise, they soar. Buckle up, because we're about to explore the high-flying consequences of a society where automobiles have wings. What if cars could fly? Let's flip our minds and find out. Imagine waking up one morning to the sound of your neighbor's SUV whizzing past your bedroom window on the 10th floor. That's right. In this alternate reality, the skies are filled with everything from zippy little hatchbacks to lumbering minivans, all defying gravity with the ease of eagles. But before you start dreaming about your morning commute transforming into a scene from The Jetsons, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of this airborne automotive world. First off, let's talk traffic. You thought rush hour was bad on the ground? Picture a three-dimensional gridlock stretching as far as the eye can see. With flying cars, traffic jams would evolve from long lines on highways to massive clusters in the sky. Fender benders? Try wing clippers. And don't even get us started on the challenges of aerial parallel parking. Insurance companies would have a field day calculating premiums for vehicles that could potentially drop out of the sky like oversized hailstones. Speaking of safety, our current air traffic control systems would need a serious upgrade. We're talking about managing millions of individual vehicles zooming around at various altitudes. It would be like playing a giant game of 3D chess, where each piece is piloted by someone who just wanted to pop out for milk. Air traffic controllers would become the unsung heroes of this new world, preventing midair collisions and guiding lost drivers who took a wrong turn at the stratosphere. Now, let's consider the environmental impact. On one hand, we might see a reduction in the need for paved roads, allowing more land to return to nature. Goodbye, asphalt jungles. Hello, actual jungles. But before we celebrate this green revolution, let's remember that all these flying cars would still need energy. The skies could become a lot more polluted, with exhaust fumes creating a whole new layer of smog. Cloud seeding? More like cloud bleeding. But it's not all doom and gloom in our sky-high scenario. Think about the possibilities for emergency services. Ambulances could zip directly to accidents, bypassing ground traffic entirely. Firefighters could attack blazes from above, turning every fire truck into a water-bombing aircraft. And police chases, they'd become aerial ballets, with officers performing loop-de-loops to catch airborne bandits. Tourism would undergo a radical transformation too. Road trips would become sky trips, with families soaring over landmarks rather than driving past them. Look kids, Big Ben would take on a whole new meaning when you're buzzing the clock tower at 1,000 feet. National parks might need to implement no-fly zones to prevent over-eager sightseers from disturbing wildlife or crashing into geysers. Imagine the disappointment of the bears when they realize picnic baskets are now safely stored in overhead compartments. Let's not forget about the impact on architecture and urban planning. Cities would grow upwards rather than outwards, with buildings designed to accommodate flying car parking lots at various levels. Penthouse apartments might lose their appeal when they're constantly buzzed by aerial traffic. On the flip side, remote areas would become more accessible, potentially leading to a redistribution of population. Who needs to live in the city when you can commute from a mountaintop chalet in minutes? The economy would shift gears dramatically in this flying car world. Traditional gas stations would evolve into floating refueling platforms like airships tethered at strategic points across the sky. Drive-thrus would become fly-thrus, with fast food chains competing to see who can catapult burgers into open cockpits with the greatest accuracy. And let's not even start on the boom in the windshield wiper industry. Bugs are a whole different ballgame at 5,000 feet. Education would need to adapt as well. Driver's ed would emerge with pilot training, creating a new hybrid course that teaches parallel parking and barrel rolls in equal measure. Kids would dream of getting their learner's permit, not to cruise the mall parking lot, but to take their first solo flight around the neighborhood. Eyes on the sky would become the new eyes on the road. Sports and entertainment would reach new heights, quite literally. NASCAR? Try FlyScar, with races taking place on three-dimensional tracks that loop and swoop through the clouds. Drive-in movies would transform into fly-in theaters with cars hovering in front of massive screens suspended in the air. Just be careful not to drift during the boring parts. You might wake up in a different time zone. But amidst all this aerial excitement, we can't forget about those who prefer to keep their wheels on the ground. Pedestrians would need to develop a permanent state of alertness, always ready to dodge not just distracted drivers, but also descending sedans. Crossing the street would become an extreme sport, with crosswalks replaced by safety nets and hard hats becoming the new fashion accessory. Weather would take on a whole new level of importance in our daily lives. A little rain might make roads slick, but in a world of flying cars, a thunderstorm could turn your morning commute into a scene from Twister. Meteorologists would become the most watched celebrities, their forecasts determining whether it's safe to take the aerial expressway or if you should just telecommute instead. As we descend back to reality, it's clear that a world of flying cars would be equal parts exhilarating and chaotic. From revolutionizing transportation to reshaping our cities and society, the implications are as vast as the skies these vehicles would populate. While we may not be zipping around in airborne automobiles just yet, the idea certainly gives us a lot to ponder about the future of transportation and the potential consequences of our technological dreams taking flight. So, the next time you're stuck in traffic, gazing longingly at the empty sky above, remember, sometimes keeping your wheels on the ground isn't such a bad thing after all. Unless, of course, you've always dreamed of being a sky captain of your very own minivan. And there you have it, mind flippers. Our high-flying journey through a world where cars swap tarmac for troposphere comes in for a landing. Did this episode make your imagination soar? We hope it gave you a new perspective on the future of transportation and maybe a newfound appreciation for good old terra firma. If you enjoyed this aerial adventure, don't forget to hit that like button harder than a flying car hits turbulence. Subscribe and ring that notification bell to join the Mind Flip family and never miss our weekly dose of what-if wanderings. And hey, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on flying cars. Would you brave the skies in your daily driver, or do you prefer to stay grounded? Share your wildest ideas for flying car features, maybe ejector seats for backseat drivers. Until next time, keep your minds flipping and your imaginations flying high.